Yeah, man, I appreciate that as well because, the story definitely needs to be told. My name is Jon Malone, Jon Malone, also known as the almighty DJ Supreme, Supreme the Rude Boy. Dougie Fresh gave me the name, the Hip Hop Encyclopedia. Well, you mentioned my father, Johnny Malone, who, rest in peace, he was, to me, one of the most prolific songwriters in the game, 50 years strong in the game. He wrote for, Donald, well, I'll just put it like this. He went to Howard University and some of his classmates were Donny Hathaway, Angela Winbush, Leroy Hudson, and coincidentally his songwriting partner, Alan Barnes. But Donald Byrd, Dr. Donald Byrd was his music teacher. So he ended up going on and writing songs for Donald's group, the Blackbirds, also A Taste of Honey. He worked closely with the Mizell brothers, Fonz and Larry Mizell. So very legendary career. And that was my pops. And eventually I would relocate from the University of Montevallo, which is where I was going to school. I went to work at Motown Records in Los Angeles, California, where my father was at the time where he was living. I spent a couple years out there, came back to Birmingham to start my radio career. And my father was like, yo, I'm coming along. I was like, word? He was like, yeah, I've waited for you for many years to come to the decision to get into the music business. Because that was the thing with my father. He never forced anything on me. I always was around it, but he wanted me to come to the decision to enter the music business because he knew how it was. And so now that I became part of the music business, he wanted to genuinely be I usually make this kind of when I describe it, I always say he's like my Yoda, with me being Luke, and he taught me everything I know about the business. So when I got back to Birmingham to start my radio career, my intention on getting in the radio business was to circumvent the system and get my music played on the radio. But eventually I ended up, making it a career, and I've, been in the radio business for over 20 years. Anyway, in terms of the hip hop scene in Birmingham, I had noticed that there was not a lot of venues for hip hop. There was not a lot of airplay for a lot of hip hop artists that were in town. And I was becoming acquainted with so many great MCs and DJs. And my thing was, well, we need to go ahead and kick the door in and get something started. And that's how we ended up, when I say we, myself, my classmate, Yusuf Young, also known as Poltergeist, and a couple of other business partners, Jason Hamilton and Ben Kenobi, who also is a great DJ. We all got together and we started this thing called the Eargasm, which basically was the premier hip hop event in Birmingham. We held it at the High Note Lounge. Well, actually, initially when we first started, we bounced around to several different locations, but we settled on the High Note Lounge because the High Note was, to me, the best venue because it had a high stage, had one of the best sound systems in Birmingham. I said, this is the place. This is going to be the home of hip hop in Birmingham. And which the High Note initially was known primarily as a karaoke bar. They did karaoke in the front, and the venue, it was in the back. It was primarily rock. They primarily did rock in there, metal, grunge, at that time. And they took a chance on us. It's a family-owned venue. Shout out to Sam Pilato. He took a chance on us. And very nice guy. And he was like, "Yo, this is, we're opening our doors to you." And that's where we stayed for a little over 5 years. And again, this was, to me, the launching pad for a lot of people who are still practitioners in hip hop, whether you're DJ, graph artist, break dancer, MC. We started a lot of careers at the Eargasm. It was very much a launching pad. But let me backtrack a little bit. Let's go back to when I was at the University of Montevallo, which is primarily when I met you. Myself, my roommate, Mike Merritt, and our RA, Steve Spears, we started a rap group called Joint Effort, and that was our first foray into making music, which I did open mics and stuff like that, but that was our first entrance into actually making music, me making beats, and us writing raps and actually recording music, which we did in our dorm room. And initially we released a single called The Show Shot, aka Far Left, and on the other side was Far Left. And we actually made the rounds. We packed up in my father's white Cadillac, and we would go up and down 65 and hit different record stores. Usually we used to go to a record store and do in-stores. We would hit, Tuscaloosa, we did Mobile, we hit all kind of different places, go up to, various radio stations. The only radio station really in Alabama, well, I'll take that back, not in Alabama, but I know in Tuscaloosa, WTUG actually showed us some love. They played, of course, shout out to Corey White, actually played our song Far Left on WTUG. So that was our first little taste of radio play. And then after that, everyone pretty much decided to go their separate ways. Mike joined the Air Force. Steve went to teach. Matter of fact, he went, I forget exactly where it was, maybe Korea or some place like that, to teach English. And so he went to teach, and so that left me. So then my father had always told me, he was like, well, maybe you need to be a solo artist. Maybe, maybe this was what was meant for you. So he was like, let me EP, your solo debut. And so we put that together, and I eventually came out with Supreme's Lounge in 1996. That was my debut album. Got that started, and that kind of got me acquainted with a lot of great people and artists throughout the city. And that's actually, I end up meeting Chase. Mark Jones, that's my man 50 grand. The Eddie to my priest. He ended up becoming my manager, and he actually introduced me to Marcus Simmons, aka MJ, aka Orion Pax, the leader of Anomaly Crew. And he was like, you need to meet this guy, because he can rap, he can sing, and he can make beats, man, y'all so much alike and everything. And so we ended up meeting, and turns out we had a mutual acquaintance that I didn't even realize. One of his best friends, AKA mentors, was a dude named Prav. Prav had a group called 24 Elders. And I met Prod before I even thought about making music. I met him through DJ Lee. DJ Lee who was one of my best partners in college. I met Prod through DJ Lee because Prod used to work at the record store, not 8th Avenue Records. It was the record exchange that was on First Avenue. Prod, rest in peace. He passed away. But that was a mutual acquaintance that myself and Orion Pax, or MJ, had. So eventually, 24 Elders became, after Prod passed away, 24 Elders became Anomaly Crew, and he added a few extra members, DAT, Chris Artificial, all you know what I'm saying, a lot of great people that we ended up becoming acquainted with. So come to the Eargasm, back to the Eargasm, what we were able to achieve there. So many people would come out to our open mic, which our open mic eventually became the battle. And that's how I got acquainted with Artiste and Abstract Chemistry and so many other great groups, Black Seals. Yeah. So OTL. And Attitude came through and rocked the ear gap. But then I knew Attitude from way back. I knew Attitude from way back also. But Tig Knight, Center Street, all these guys would come to the Eargasm and rock. And it was the beginning of a movement. It was pretty much the next wave, the next phase coming out of the 80s and the early 90s, because this was around 90. Well, the Eargasm began in 99. So moving into the new millennium, this was like the next phase for Birmingham hip hop, before it could, take off and go out into the stratosphere. That particular movement, and in particular, the 5 years that we were able to do the Eargasm, we exposed Birmingham to so much. Yeah, I can't even imagine it, but it was a blessing to even be a part of that, let alone facilitate it. It was just a great thing to witness. And so many people were starting to see more of the success, whether it was, with your group, Red Light District, who pretty much at that time was the measuring stick, was actually the group that was getting the radio play and getting the accolades and the TV spots and everything. That was the measuring stick. So to actually be able to witness that and to see that come out of this new movement in Birmingham was electrifying, bro. Yeah, and that's what it was. It was fun. We did have like maybe a couple of altercations actually to jump off at the Eargasm, but all in all, it was pretty much togetherness in terms of everybody had a specific goal. Everybody who came there was a practitioner of hip hop in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Like I said, whether you were an MC or a DJ or a graph artist or a breakdancer, we had the entire spectrum of hip hop culture at the Eargasm. And then from there, we would leave the Eargasm, like on a typical night, we'd leave the Eargasm, come over to my studio, and we would make music till the sun came up. And that's how a lot of the new recordings, the new music started to come out. And everybody, and folks became enamored with, we're making records now. It's not just something that we do here at the Eargasm and then we just go on about our business. No, now we have the ability to hear ourselves over these beats. Because I'll make the beats, everybody would get in their zone, they write their raps and everything, and then we end up recording it, and it was dope. It was dope. So that's how the Eargasmatics came about, which actually Orion Pax gave that group that name. And it was just a collective of MCs from the Eargasm. It wasn't necessarily a group per se. It just, we were Eargasmatics. We came out of the Eargasm. So, and we made some really, really cool records. We did some really cool things.